Welcome to Watch with Mike. On this channel, I share my journey into watch repair and restoration. On the bench today is a mid-20th century Wittnauer diamond-studded men's watch that is currently a non-runner. This will be a casual video where I tear into the watch to try to determine what might be wrong, and even if this watch is worth repairing. I think I'm going to start this video with the microscope shot. Ice, ice, baby. That's what I was going to call it. Look at that crystal. It's like a hologram. What we have here is a Wittnauer dressy watch. I don't know the year. I think that those are real diamonds. And this one I just picked up just for fun. I'm going to open it up in the video today. We'll take a look at it. Right now this watch sets, but it does not run. So the hands turn nicely in winding position. It ratchets backward, but it doesn't wind. Doesn't wind forward. And no matter how much I throw it around like a kid's steering wheel, that second hand is not budging. So we're going to pop it open and we're going to take a look. I want to figure out what year it's from. Show it to the various cameras. It is 10 karat gold filled. What do you think with that sub-second hand? Maybe mid to late 1950s? Your guess at this point is as good as mine. Let's pop it open and we'll take a look. Now I think on these watches you can get the movement out without removing the strap. It should just pop out. And actually, now that I'm looking at this back, it's in pretty good shape. I don't know if someone polished this or just took pretty good care of it, but it's not majorly scratched up. And this bracelet seems to be in pretty good shape as well. One of the things that I look for in these vintage watches is wear around the crown, because that's one of the first places that the gold plating is going to wear out or wear off. And, also on various parts, the edges of these expansion bracelets. This one seems to be in pretty good shape. Interesting that the expansion bracelet has the curved end links, which I would think you'd want to pair with a round watch, but this one is paired with a rectangular, a tank-shaped watch. It's all good. We might play musical bands with it. Musical bands. Ha! I didn't mean to make a pun. Musical bracelets. There we go. All right. Let's pop this open. Okay. This is kind of interesting. I'm going to zoom in here. You can kind of see the rolled gold shell on top of the base metal. See right there where the base metal kind of turned a little bit green, and then you could see the shell over it, which is, I guess that's the rolled gold. All right. Well, it's better than I expected. Only 12, 3, and 9 turns out is a diamond, and it looks like the rest are just spun metal pieces that are, they're not even faceted. It just looks like they have a spun brushing on the inside to make them reflective. Okay, so this thing isn't iced out as much as I thought it was. Very basic dial, and in fact it's almost a little bit of a, dare I say, like sloppily painted dial. I don't really think there's a big market to counterfeit older Wittnauer watches. So I don't think that this is what you might call a knockoff these days, but it might just be decorated in this way because it was trying to meet a certain price point. So I'm not sad because this is still going to be a fun watch to tinker with. Let's see if we can pop it out of its case back. Yep, it volunteered. And we'll take a look at the case back before we dig in. Oh my goodness, look at all that graffiti. What does it have to say? Wittnauer, New York, Geneva, Montreal. 10 carat, gold filled. It's got a serial number. Maybe we can date it from that serial number. Give that a try. And look at all of the watchmaker's graffitis inside the case. There's that 147 that I think that kind of aligned with what we may have seen inside this case. Yep, there it is. There's another 147. So I wonder if that's not some kind of primitive factory mark to help them keep the back with the front. We've got some readable dates, which is a treat. 6/25/64. So a service in 1964. How far back can we go? There's a January 59. There's a number ending in 60. There's another 58. I want to flip over this movement. Well, first impressions. It's dirty. Next impressions. That hairspring looks a little funky. Now, I tried to get it going when I was at the store, and the shop owner pulled off the back for me, and I was able to turn the balance wheel, just kind of poke at it with my finger. I don't think that the pivots are broken. I do think, though, that the hairspring might be a little bit messed up. But it looked like all of the essential parts were where they needed to be. So let's see what we can tell. Is there anything like non-obvious about this? Wittnauer, Watch Company, Inc., 17 jewels. You know, it's interesting. Definitely European origin. They have the fast and slow, F and S, but I believe that they also have the French arrêté and retard for faster and slower. So this has a bilingual regulator. Excellent. I tell you, one of the first things I should do is let down the power in the mainspring, because I know it's all wound up. And okay, over here, 73 review. Maybe that's something I can take to the web and, you know, just take a look at and see if I could find out anything more about this movement. Oh, and that's all right. I'll tell you right now, that is not good. All right. Do you see the way that's flipping around? That could be a problem. In fact, that probably is a problem. Okay, this might just be for parts, but what the heck? I'm going to go to the web. I'm going to look up what year this is based on the 73 review and the serial number, and then we'll stop back. That's the fun of this hobby. It's like being a detective. And just like that, we're back. So review 73 or 73 review is actually the model of the watch and the caliber. So Wittnauer 73 review caliber, these were manufactured between 1940 and 1950. All right, let's take it apart. I know that we have this wheel. Yeah, that's just flipping all over the place, most likely missing a pivot. And who knows what's going on with the balance. Let's take off the hands, then let's take off the dial, and we'll just take it apart. Why not? You want to see what's in it? Let's see what's in it. We'll just line up the hands. I'll put a piece of plastic over it just to protect the dial so we don't scratch it. And using these hand levers, these little scoop-shaped tools, we're going to slide it under the hands and lift up. And the hands come off just like that. So that's two of the three. Put them in this little box. And now let's go back for that teeny tiny baby guppy sized sub-second hand. Okay. Next task is taking off the dial. So I imagine there's probably some dial foot screws. Yep. Good. Feels pretty loose. A few more turns and the dial comes away. Excellent. And a quick inspection. Hey, there's one of those numbers again. Oh, that one is 2717, and there is more writing on it. Boy, there's all kinds of 73, and there you can see the settings. That's kind of nice. See, I like when you can actually see the settings in the dial if it has precious stones. Those are dirty, but it's nice because maybe you can't wash a dial, but at least you could get behind it and clean up the back of the stones and just give them a little bit more sparkle. We're going to put the dial away. We'll store this with the hands. I don't have finger cots. I accept the responsibility of not wearing them. I don't expect that this watch is even going to make it to the watch cleaning machine just because of some of those mechanical difficulties that we saw earlier. But I'll try not to get my paws all over it. Here's a very well-worn, shoddy-looking dial washer. We can get rid of that. And how about this hour wheel? Is that just going to give itself up willingly? It sure did. Okay, put those two parts aside. And now before I go too far, I would like to just sort of take a look at what's going on this side. So our setting lever spring is in good shape. You very often see these breaking, especially like right in that part here where it gets thin. So here's part of what I love about watchmaking. There are so many different ways to achieve similar results. In this case, this top piece here, that kind of, gosh, I'm reminded of when Prince became a symbol. This looks kind of like maybe part of that, but maybe not. So this acts as a cover plate, holding in the setting wheel, and holding down, this is the yoke. Here's the setting lever. So this is acting as the spring for the setting lever, and this tail comes down, and it is also acting as the yoke spring, applying pressure to the yoke, which looks like it's pivoting on this post. So a really good example of doing double, triple duty, quadruple duty. It's a plate, it's a spring, and it's, all right, triple duty. We'll just go with triple duty. Let's let down the mainspring so we don't have any parts flying across the room. Even if they're broken, I want to keep them relatively close. And of course, more graffiti, 147, and then it looks like they changed their mind and crossed it out. All kinds of fun stuff going on here. I'm sure that this watch, if it could talk, it would have a lot to say. Lots of good stories. With the watch in setting position, and the goal here is to get this click out of the way now, so I can then release the wound up power that's in that mainspring. There we go. I guess everything just hasn't turned in a long time. We'll just let out as much of that spring power as we can. And it really feels like this watch is gummed up. Okay, I think we're good. I'm going to put the movement in a movement holder, and then we will remove the balance assembly. Okay. Oh, wow. Do you see that? That's loose. That is loose right out of the gate. Uh-oh, does it tighten, or does it just spin to infinity? No, okay, that's a good thing. It did tighten. When I feel a screw head loose like that, I wonder if the screw head hasn't broken off and it's just sitting in the recess. All right. That is a healthy long screw. Look at that. At the very least, when you're taking apart a watch like this, you start thinking, oh, well, if it's really messed up, then it will be a good donor for my parts bin. And let's see, do we have a notch? Yeah, there is a notch. It's just a small one. There it is. And with that, we gently lift the balance cock off of the posts. They usually have metal posts that they sit on. Let's see what happens. See what happens when we lift them away. All right, well, there is a hairspring. Come on. Come on. I think he needed some coaxing. Is it oil holding him in place? Okay. I'm almost afraid to turn him over. Oh, all right. It looks like that hairspring is kind of bent up and crazy. But if I had to, I think maybe I could straighten that out. Maybe. Doesn't look like there's any really severe bends in it. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, okay, it's a little bit crazy. But I'm sure many of you out there have seen crazier. And that's that's almost definitely why this thing isn't running. And look at that. Is the regulator boot left open? Someone else has been in this watch before me. And it wasn't those 25 watchmakers that put their mark in it. As far as pivots go, we do have a usable pivot on that end. And we'll see in a little bit what's going on the other side of that balance wheel. And did you notice that there's a lot of individual bridges? Like this one here. Yeah, that's not supposed to be doing that, is it? And that definitely looks like the jewel's okay, but there's absolutely no pivot. That's about as sure a sign of a broken pivot as I've seen in a watch. So at this point, I may as well just start unscrewing bridges and removing parts. Another nice, healthy, long screw. And I'm just going to do a quick comparison of those two screws. Yeah, that's the same screw. I'm pretty sure. So that's actually nice. I like when the different bridges use the same screws. It's just a few less things that you have to keep track of. Where did we leave off? There we go. And there's the little pry point. Let's see. Is there another pry point? Oh, okay. Well, here's a little lesson learned. From the top, and I think that this is worth pausing and discussing. I made an assumption. These look like individual bridges, right? Bridge, bridge, bridge. And so I just thought I could remove this bridge, but then when I turned it on its side and I was looking for another pry point, take a look at this. This is a contiguous bridge, and it just has a groove in here to give it the design to look like it's a separate bridge. So to get this part off, I'm going to have to remove that screw. And what's more, this bridge continues right around on this side of the watch. So that means, what does that mean? It means I need to remove this screw as well. So that's what we're going to do. I was thinking, oh, so this is so pocket watch, having all these individual bridges. Well, that's just not the case. And immediately from moving it around, I felt like it was coming a little bit loose in my movement holder. That is something that I've struggled with. Sometimes the movement works its way loose in the movement holder. And when that happens, sometimes it's not evident, but you'll press down on it to remove a part, to loosen a screw, and the movement can pop up, can pop out of the movement holder. And that's bad. I mean, it can really jostle things around. You can hurt the parts. Is that thing ready to come out? Good. I'm throwing these all in the same pile because they all look like the same screw. All right. 1, 2, 3. Good. So this bridge definitely goes across the entire corner of that watch. Oh, didn't mean to do it that aggressively, but it is what it is. And fortunately, everything underneath it stayed in place. I always like to try to leave things in place if I can, so we can see where they go. The jewels are actually in pretty good shape. There's gobs of oil. Yeah, lots of oil. Okay, in the bin you go. Let's see if we can verify our suspicions. Yes, and suspicions verified. That is about as much of a pivot as you can not have on a wheel. Into the bin you go. So, speaking of pivots, how is our pallet fork? You know, I don't I don't like how he's just kind of wobbling around there too. I would not be the least bit surprised if he had his own pivot issues. Yes. So pallet forks are not supposed to do that. I can almost get him out. Can I get him out like without taking out the bridge? But I can get him out. Okay, so there's our third wheel, I think. And he's okay. See, he looks pretty robust. And with him out of the way, just for YouTube, here's the alternate way of removing. Okay, so that's the other way of removing a pallet fork. And if we take a look at this, I don't expect to see anything on either. Wait, what? Okay, well, that's more than a pivot than I expected. So what's going on here? Is that like the pre-pivot? Is there supposed to be more of a pivot sticking out of there? Oh, that's just crazy. Okay. Well, let's dig deeper. Now I'm really curious. Let's remove the bridge. Just out of curiosity. No, he was pretty tight. So there he is. That's just a little guy. And he is beveled at the top. So curious. What a weird worked on watch. Okay, so first things first. Is there a jewel? Yeah, okay. So there is a jewel, and it looks like it's in place, albeit dirty and oily. So there's a jewel on the bottom. And how about here? That jewel looks okay too. So why was that pallet fork so flippy floppy? I don't know. Okay, many mysteries. And mystery and history, look at all the scratches on this bridge. Numerous people have definitely had their way with this watch. Take a peek at our escape wheel. Nothing terrible leaping out at me here that I can see. Yep, there's a fiber on there, but I don't think that fiber is what threw this whole watch out of whack. Let's take off the barrel bridge. I'm going to start by removing the click. Don't know if the spring under here is going to make it want to fly. Are we good? There we go. And it looks like the click spring is underneath the ratchet wheel, which we'll take off next. And that wasn't tight at all. This is a standard lefty-loosey traditional thread screw. There's a look at the cross sections. You can see the thread. Polished flathead screw. A little bit larger than the click screw. I'm going to use my Rodico on a stick just to lift straight up on him. Anything under him? Nah, pretty straightforward. Dirty, greasy, grimy. What? There's another number under there. 73, 23. Man, someone loved their numbering systems. Okay, I don't want to send this one flying, so I'm just going to hold him down with the Rodico. Got him. There's our click spring. I've heard other watchmakers call him the Born to Fly spring. I like that. This, most likely, since it's a single screw right in the center, is going to be a reverse threaded screw. So I'm just going to use this little peg stick here just to hold the wheel in place. Try turning them clockwise. And yes, he unscrews, as expected, lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. Say it with me. Okay, there's a look at his profile, and that one's a little bit smaller than the ratchet wheel. And he lifts off, and we need to keep an eye on that center ring, because there's that little bushing on the inside. There we go. Okay, the crown wheel comes away. No surprises there. Here's the crown wheel ring. Very typical of these Swiss movements. And look how loose these screws are. And here's that screw that's just volunteering himself. You know, I hate to be pessimistic, but when I see a watch like this and I think, oh, at the very least, I could use it for parts, these screws, they are just so chewed up. I don't know that I'd want to be putting these screws into another another project. But it is what it is. And you know what? You take apart and you learn from whatever you can get your hands on. That's how I've been learning. I do enjoy the Swiss movements, but it's not an exclusive relationship. I'm pretty open to different nationalities, different styles, different time periods. Sometimes it's fun just taking it apart. Okay, that second wheel will be released by this bridge. I'm just taking a peek. So we have a pry point down here. And why don't we just get it started while we're looking at it? And I'll bet there's one over here as well. Yes. And I sent it flying again. There's that number 73 again. Okay, we're kind of in the home stretch here. Oh, we have the cannon pinion still on the other side, don't we? Is that going to stop us? Let's see. I think it is. Logically, it should, but with this watch, who knows? Okay, let me pop that cannon pinion real quick, and then we'll fly back to this side of the movement. You know, while I'm here, can I slip out the barrel? I sure can. Is there a number under here as well? Yes! Look at that, 73. There sure is. I've never seen so much numbering in a watch. Flip this over. Grab my stout tweezers. Just give him a tug. Try not to send him flying. There we go. Cannon pinion is out, and that released that center wheel somewhere. Okay, there's our center or second wheel, and he looks fine. I think we can make pretty quick work of the rest of this movement. Let's take out the rest of the keyless works. I'm just going to loosen those two screws and then see if I can relieve the pressure. There we go. With the pressure relieved from the setting lever and the yoke, this spring is now in its relaxed state, and we can more safely remove him. And as I'm taking this watch apart, I'm treating it as I would with a watch that I'm intending on putting back together. And I'm grouping the parts that I remove into trays, where I'm keeping similar parts with similar parts. So in this case, all of the keyless works parts are in the same part of my tray. Okay, Rodico for when you just want to do a straight up lift. So there's a look at the yoke, showing you the post next to it that it goes on and the orientation. You can pull out that minute wheel. Okay, little setting wheel. And is he symmetrical? Can't quite tell. Sometimes this little raised portion that it sits on right there, that will leave a little bit of a mark on the wheel as it spins, and that's your tell on which way it goes back in. And let me just zoom in, because there's often the question of which way do these wheels go. So this is a directional wheel, so it's worth pointing out. Right there, there's a taper. See how it's straight and then it angles in? So the taper goes down. Great. See, there's always lessons to learn, even if you're just taking something apart without expectations of putting it back together. If we felt like it, we could pull off that cap jewel, but I'm just going to leave that in place for right now. Let me flip it over, and I will undo the setting lever screw, which should release the setting lever. Now this is an example of me being lazy, and I didn't really have it in the movement holder, and I felt it start to shift. And even though we're just doing this as an exercise, I still didn't want to make the movement do a wheelie and have it go flying. So let me take the moment that it takes to properly lock this back into that movement holder. There we go. That was the tightest screw in the whole watch. And there it is. Flip it back over. Here's our setting lever screw. Here's our setting lever. Do you prefer setting lever or setting lever? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, here I'm just going to do this the easy way. Okay, and here's the most fun way to remove the sliding clutch. And that winding wheel. Bombs away. So what now? I think maybe I just had fun taking this apart because of the broken pivots and the weird action of that pallet fork. I don't have super high hopes for it. Plus that mangled hairspring. That was kind of crazy. But it's always good just to keep your hand-eye coordination and watch repair skills. It's always good to hone up on one of these watches, even if you just resign yourself to the fact that it might not ever come back together. I hope you enjoyed this little journey. I hope you picked up some tips, or at the very least it just kind of refreshed in your own mind where the parts go, what the parts are for, and the order in which you can take them apart. For right now, you know what? I spent $30 on this watch. It's a mixed bag, and you take a chance. At the very least, I think I have some extra parts here. I learned about the movement, I learned a little bit about the history, and I got to get my hands on the tweezers and the screwdrivers for a little while, and it gave me something to record, which I always enjoy sharing with you, my valued audience. I'm Mike, the channel is Watch with Mike. If you like this kind of stuff, please support the channel by giving it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing and turn on notifications so you see my next post. I wish you all a great day, and I look forward to our next time together. Bye-bye. Hey, at least this bracelet's in pretty good shape. I could definitely find some place to recycle this.